In the mix with DJ Rambo Rich.
Okay, welcome to the What's That Music About podcast. I'm your host, DJ Rambo Rich, and in today's episode, we're speaking to August Wld, a hip-hop artist and songwriter. So, with no further ado, I'm going to just let him introduce himself. If you just tell us a bit about yourself, and then we'll start the rest of the show. So, firstly, thanks for coming on, and just introduce yourself.
Appreciate you having me on. DJ Rambo Rich. Rambo Rich. I think it's so cool to have Rambo in your name. First of all, before I introduce myself, did you intend to have Rambo like after the movie character Rambo, or is that something else?
Well, it's a long story, but I'll try and shorten it. It's basically what happened. I used to do white-collar boxing
Okay.
as a conference thing, and also my mum had breast cancer, so it was to raise money for charity.
Oh, wow.
And I've always been a big Stallone fan because of Rocky.
Right.
Now, I'm dyslexic, and it was when I was a kid, Rocky was the first sort of dyslexic character I actually saw. I think it's in Rocky 2 where you learn, like, he's trying to do adverts and like sponsorship and things, and he's trying to read the cards and he can't read it, and it really sort of identified with me. So I've always, ever since as a kid, seen Rocky 2. Which I didn't see Rocky 1 first, I saw Rocky 2. And
Yeah.
I've always identified with that. So when I got back into DJing, I was like, what is my DJ name going to be? Now, there was a lot of Rambos around in music, but I thought, well, my name's Richard, so Rambo Rich. And that's how it started, basically. But yeah, I really appreciate you asking there, like I say. But I am a massive Stallone fan because I feel like a lot of his films have a message in it.
Right.
And that's partly the reason why I wanted to interview. I feel like we'll speak later, but when I was listening to your rap, I was like, yeah, I can hear the message in this. But yeah, anyway, I'll let you introduce yourself.
Yeah. Well, I mean, to be honest, part of the reason I wanted to ask that question on camera, because we did speak a little bit off the phone, is I'm a very just inquisitive person. My name is August Wld. Wasn't born August Wld. I am a man trapped inside another man's body. Right. I feel like I was trapped in my music for a very long time. I'm a hip hop artist, like you mentioned. And the only place I could truly be authentically myself was through my music. You know, that's where I kept my real opinions, my real thoughts. And in the real world, when I would show people my songs, they would look at me sideways like, this isn't you. It can't be you, because I don't take the real you seriously. This is great. This is powerful. This is deep. And for the longest time, I was ashamed to put music out there, but I started putting music out there. I started losing friends, gaining enemies. But I said, you know what? This message is very important. You know, I talk a lot about mental health. I talk a lot about just stories that I have been through. And I talk about things that I feel like people are not afraid to talk about, but need a little bit more confidence to talk about. I'm from Northern California, the Bay Area to be specific. Shout out to Planners. Born in a city called San Jose. So I would have worn my Sharks hat, but I don't know where it's at. That's me in a nutshell.
I think what we're going to do now is going to move to the first round, which is mixtapes and memories. So 1 second, then we'll be back.
All right.
Okay, so this is Mixtapes and Memories, where we talk about past musical memories and how the music of your formative years sort of helped shape the artist you are today. So to start that off, what's your first memory of music?
In general, or my music?
When you were younger, like, what was the first sort of memory of, like, enjoying music?
When I was, my first memory of music, as far back as I can think, it would have been the year 2000, because I would be 5 years old. And it was like, so I want to say it was Bye 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 by NSYNC. You know,
Right.
my math could be completely off. It could be maybe 2000, 2001. But my first memory of music was in, this is going to sound crazy, but it was in the back of my my uncle's car. It was me, my cousins, and we used to, I don't know if you've ever seen those Ford, they're not Escalades. Oh my God, what are those called? It's essentially a massive car. Not a van,
yeah.
but they're built by Ford. And my cousin and I used to like look out the back of the window and like pretend like we were like hanging off the back of the car, essentially. And then my uncle just had like the radio playing, and that song came on by NSYNC, and this was before you could just like replay it if you wanted to.
Yeah.
So I remember hearing the hook the first time, and by the time the hook came around the second time, I knew the words already, and that was my first time hearing the song. And then when it came on for the last time, I had my cousin singing it, his brother singing it, and my aunt singing it, who was in the passenger seat. So what that told me was music is a very powerful thing, and it can unite us all, whether we like that genre or not. Because I wouldn't even consider that my favorite genre by far, but it was just something to do when you're 5, 6 years old, you know?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, like I always sound like an old man there because I was born in '91, mate, which is
Okay.
crazy. Like I still, when I go to like DJ at a nightclub or a venue with my decks, I still get IDs because obviously I don't look 34, which I'm turning this year.
Yeah,
It's
you don't look
crazy.
34. No, you look younger than me.
So, but I totally get that. Like I say, because I always feel like the old man when I say things like this. Like I can still like remember cassette tapes and VHSs in like the video
Same.
shop, and it's
Walkman?
crazy. Yeah, definitely. I remember Walkmans. I remember I've still got a cassette tape now. I still listen to cassettes now. I try and get new stuff. I just like the
Oh,
tac because I don't know about you, but I like the tactile nature of like actually physically putting a CD, a cassette, whatever it may be, into the thing, pressing play, and actually just listening to the music. Because
there is something nice about that. Yes.
like last night I was listening to one of my favorite sort of hip hop albums. It's this one. I don't know if you've ever seen that. It's called Peanut.
Okay. I haven't, no.
And it's so really sort of like different, and it's one of the few albums I've listened to recently that I've listened. I've not even skipped. I don't even skip,
Oh,
and it's
wow. No
great.
skips.
No skips because obviously we live in the generation now of oh I don't like that. Let's move on.
Right.
But I love
Instantly, too.
yeah exactly, which is crazy. So I've tried to find music now a bit differently from a DJing. I've like tried to go a bit old school and like buy CDs and stuff, just because I was getting to the point where I was having the similar sort of music as every other DJ, which is great for certain nights, but not all the time. So
Right.
I was trying to mix it up a bit. But so what was the first time you sort of realized that you thought maybe music is something I want to do, like sort of professional?
I would say that's probably 14, 15 years old is when I thought about doing it professionally. I just didn't understand what it took to do professionally. I've been writing since I was 6 years old. Not after that song experience that I just mentioned to you, but I've always been writing as soon as I could write. It was poems at first or it was thoughts at first. And then once I discovered hip hop specifically with Tupac, 50 Cent, because my dad was listening to them a lot, I was like, man, like I could write my poems to their rhythm. You see what I'm
Yeah,
saying? So it was almost like covers in a way, but with my own words. So remix cover, however you want to look at it. But then by the time I was in high school, so 2009, when I was 14 years old, I was not making music, but I was keeping my like kind of poetry to myself because again, this is where I kept like my actual thoughts. I treated it like a diary, and I had made one song in Hawaii just randomly, right? Because my dad was like, okay, like you know, you have this affinity for music. My buddy here has a microphone and a laptop. Why don't I see? Let's see if you got what it takes. And I'll tell you what, if that song was the measuring stick for if I could make it, I should have quit because that song was terrible. I don't even have it today. It was so bad. But at the time, it was the greatest thing in the world to me. And I couldn't stop listening to it. That voice didn't sound like me. It sounded like someone who was confident. And I was very insecure at the time. So the short answer to your question is 14 is when I said, okay, I want a microphone. I want a laptop and I'm going to start making this by myself. And one day I had friends over. Again, this is 14, 15. I had friends over 2010 and one of my friends like discovered my microphone and he's like, do you sing? And I said, oh, no, I rap. I was like shy about it. And I ended up playing him a remix I did to Drake's Fireworks, if I'm not mistaken. He was like, dude, this is like very deep. And at the time I was just trying to be a clown for people. And he's like, well, I didn't know that you like thought this way. I didn't know he wasn't upset about it. He's like, people should hear this. So from that point on, shout out to Aaron Mobby, or Shmula is what he calls himself now.
I always love it when people shout out people like this, because you can tell that it's meant so much to the person that they're like shouting out. So I always appreciate.
If it wasn't for him, I wouldn't be making music, like publicly at least.
I love that, man. That's great.
Yeah. So 14, 15 is to answer your question.
But it is great, like when you sort of like get to that point and you're like, right, I'm going to do this, and you start getting the equipment, and you're like, right, we've got a plan here. I'm going to make this happen. It's like myself when I started getting DJ equipment. I was like, right, we're going to get a mixer. I'm going to get 2 CDJs. I'm going to get all the tunes I want. I'm going to just make this happen. But I love it, man.
Thank you.
So you were saying that obviously like you were shy, which is it's an interesting thing, because there's some people that like are super confident, and then there's some people that are shy, which is perfectly fine. So how did you get away from the shyness? Because I was a bit like that when I used to do acting, and I was a bit shy to tell people, because I thought, am I going to be judged here? It's not really, at this stage, it was a similar age to you, I would say, like sort of 15, 16, 17. And it wasn't like, when I was a kid, it wasn't really what blokes did. It was more like for the girls at my school. So like I didn't want to say, and then like be made fun of and stuff. So I could totally relate being shy there. So how did you overcome like the shyness with it? And when did you start to feel like, I've started to get my confidence here?
So before I answer that question, I have to ask this. I'm so sorry. Did you say blokes in reference to like men?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm not gonna lie to you. Like growing up over here, I thought blokes were just like if you said that, you were just talking like people that like you don't like or something. Like, oh, look at that bloke over there. Like, I didn't know it was like man specific. Is that a term for men?
So I'm from northwest England, right? So it's quite funny. Like we'll say blokes, like lads. That can mean like men, basically. Like blokes, lads. I'm trying to think, because I say it so often, you forget like that. Outside of your sort of part of the world, like it's a thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
But yeah, so basically, yeah, blokes and lads are like.
Got it. Okay.
Guys, basically.
I had to know. Sorry, that was super interesting to me. So to answer your question, you said, when did I stop being so shy, right?
Yeah.
So I actually want to correct you. It's not your fault. It's the way I was explaining it. I was not shy. I was insecure, right? To me, shy is like you have a fear of social settings. I have never been afraid, keyword afraid, of social settings. I have been insecure about my personality in social settings.
Yeah.
I felt like my personality was unsafe in most rooms I walked in. I was the kind of guy growing up where I was liable to say whatever came to my brain. And I have so many thoughts. I go out a minute. Sometimes I have a thought that comes to my brain and I'm like, dude, I need to just say this. I don't care if people laugh. I don't care if people comment on it. I need to say this out loud, because if I don't say it, it's going to be stuck in my brain. Or if I don't write it down, it's going to be stuck in my brain. To answer your question, when did I stop being so insecure? Dude, I'm going to be 100% honest with you, man. I've been insecure for most of my life, and I would say that I didn't stop being insecure until probably like 2022-ish. But even then, I still have work to do. And when I say insecure, insecurity isn't something that goes away. We all have our insecurities, right?
Yeah, definitely, yeah.
I'm talking like insecure in the sense of like I was reacting and defensive to everything. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. To anything that I felt like was attacking my personality, I was insecure up until literally like 3 years ago when I met my wife, my girlfriend at the time.
I mean, I appreciate you being so open there. Like I say, I really appreciate you being so open there. Like I say, I mean, like you saying you met your partner there.
Yeah.
It's funny, things like that in your life can make such a big difference. Like personally for me, it was becoming an uncle. Like to my nephew.
Uncle. Got you.
Yeah, becoming an uncle to my nephew and niece is like, I feel like that made me sort of, I mean, not that I didn't think of the bigger picture before that, but it did make me it did make me think, right, I have a responsibility now. I have, to be
there's
a
stakes.
to be a good role model, to set the standards of what is expected of a decent human being.
Right.
I feel like, things like that are really sort of, especially for blokes, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Men, I'll say.
No, keep doing it. That's fine.
Like for blokes, I feel like we need that sort of structure to sort of grow up and get away from the sort of childishness of being like a young man, essentially. Because I feel like when we have that structure, like we could achieve anything basically. But I feel like you need that to sort of like ground you, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean, man. It's when you have something that you're working very hard for, or something that motivates you, like in your case, like being an uncle, right? It, as a man, as a person, it puts a different battery in your back, like something where that has always lived inside you, but now you have the courage to go out there. Like what my wife didn't like introduce me to myself necessarily, right? She created an environment where I felt like the real me that I have been like only keeping in my music could actually survive in this world. At the time I met her, I was doing a podcast where we were playing characters, but the thing I wasn't telling my co-hosts was that my character was actually myself, but just with like fake stories. Like the character I was playing, his name was Barlow, at Bad Luck Barlow, and he was a very insecure dude. I would literally get on camera and I would describe that I was like this hunchback. Like think of the Hunchback of Notre Dame, but like he's always like, talking about how no one loves him. He's got, how do I put this, insufficient body parts. Let's put it that way. Like it was a comedy show.
There.
Yeah, there you go. It was a comedy show, and I was like the clown is what it was. And when I showed it to my wife, again, she wasn't even my girlfriend at the time. We were just dating. She just didn't like it. She's like, I like some of the points that you make that aren't the jokes, but it's when you start joking about yourself, I just don't understand like why you do that. And her creating that environment, and the further we got in our relationship, I said, why am I sacrificing my personality to appease other people? You know what I'm saying? If they don't want to be in my life because I am actually confident, because I actually respect myself, those aren't people I care to have in my life.
Definitely, I'm all for that. What would you say? This might be a hard question to answer. What is the earliest memory that you feel has had the biggest influence on your music today?
That's a great question. The earliest memory that has an influence on my music. I have a question for you in order for me to answer that question. When you say music, are we talking about sonically, like the types of instrumentals that I use, or are we talking about like lyrics?
I mean, it could be either or either, basically. Like I say, I mean, whatever you feel like comes to you when I ask that question. Like I say, I don't want to lead your answer in any way. Like, what do you feel like is the one thing that sort of earliest memory that sort of like, if I hadn't have done that, this wouldn't have happened. And it's really sort of...
Okay, well, the earliest memory I can think of is not even like my music per se. It was, this is gonna be a crazy story. I have a documentary about myself, which is hilarious, but it's called Becoming August, Killing the Narcissist, because I have learned throughout my life that I have narcissistic tendencies. Not like that I'm a narcissist myself, but I have like these traits about myself, and I feel like most people do, but
Definitely, yeah.
yeah, but I feel like I was super hyper defensive about my ego for a very long time. And I said, like, I wonder why that is. And I look back into what it is, and I realized that this perception of who I was supposed to be, it started skewing the way I looked at myself and the way I defended myself. In that story, in that documentary, quote unquote, which is ironic because if you're making a documentary about yourself, it's like a play on the whole narcissism thing. But anyway, I tell a story about in second grade, after my parents had divorced, my godbrother, first of all, I was an only child for 9 years. So I didn't have a sibling at this time. And I really wanted one. I wanted someone to like go through life with, essentially, a brother. And I heard about having a god brother, and I was like, oh, that's great. Like I have a brother. And when I got to the school, it was a Christian school, Catholic school. It was I forget which, but he was like, I hate using this term because I think it's used too loosely, but he was bullying me, and
Right.
he got his friend to bully me as well, and it was bad, man. Like they would bully me in the classroom. I would like try to like go outside, obviously during recess or whatever. I'd try to go to another side of campus. They would find out where I was at, and like at a certain point, they weren't like putting hands on me, but they were doing everything they possibly could to like make my life hell. Right.
Yeah.
And I remember having an assignment. Now this is to answer your question. I remember we got an assignment to talk about or write about like something, some kind of verse that we were supposed to write from the Bible, right? And instead of doing that, I wrote the lyrics to Linkin Park's Easier to Run, right? And Linkin Park, specifically Chester Bennington and Mike Shinoda's like lyrical ability, like it wasn't necessarily the sonic of what I'm hearing, like just hearing the words, it's easier to run. It was like how I felt on the inside. And I wrote that and I got an F on the assignment because obviously I did it wrong. And in my head, I said, like, this is what I was meant to do, is to write things that I'm passionate about, regardless of if people approve it or not. Right now, I wasn't thinking of it like that at that time, but looking back, especially when I think about the lyrics that I write today, I take that same logic to now. I don't give a damn if one person plays my song. I don't give a damn if I never make it as the big artist. I'm going to say what I feel, how I feel it, and when I want to say it. That's just who I am.
Definitely. I mean, firstly, I want to just say sorry that happened to you.
It's all good. Thank you.
But I think you're right. I think it's, once you've put it out into the world, it doesn't matter anymore because you've put out what your vision of how that was meant to be. So if
Right.
you're happy with it, it doesn't matter because at the end of the day, if you've out into the world through your music, how you feel, that is you just being true to yourself. And that is never a bad thing, I don't think, being true to yourself because you are being you.
Yeah.
You
It's
can't,
never a bad thing. Sorry to cut you off, but it's never
it's
a
all
bad
good.
thing
It's
to
all
be.
good.
It's never a bad thing to be yourself. The example I use on my podcast when I interview artists, right? And forgive me, I know this is wild, but I have to give you the same exact scenario, okay? Artists these days struggle with like, man, like I don't know if my music is good. Like these people don't show it. These people don't show it. I said, okay. I said, have you ever been to Target before? Do you guys have a Target over there? Walmart?
I think it's called Asda over here.
Oh, well, whatever you have, okay? Think
It
of
is
like
Walmart, but it's called Asda for some reason. I don't understand why. But moving on, yeah.
it's all good. It's all good. So think of the store that's like it's a one-stop shop for everything that families can go in there and get. Okay.
Yeah.
I tell artists all the time, nobody puts sex toys in the middle of Walmart. And they're like, what? Like, what does that mean? I was like, but that doesn't mean the sex toy can't sell. That doesn't mean that there's not value there, right? It just means that it's not supposed to be at Walmart or at the store that you mentioned. So what am I saying when I say that? I'm saying that being yourself is only a problem in the environment you're currently at if obviously people react to it a certain way. There are 8 billion people on this planet. There's somewhere that you belong. And if no one else will accept you, you have to accept yourself. It sounds cheesy, it sounds corny, but it really is true.
But I mean, if I add to that, over here we have a shop that's like for women's lingerie. Now, if you put the same item in Ann Summers, which is what it's called over here, there'd be value there.
Exactly, right?
So like I get what you're saying. Like it's just, maybe that's not for you, and a different environment, your value will be seen. And
100%.
definitely, I think what we're going to do now is move to the second now, which is on repeat. So 1 second, then we'll be back. Okay, so this is on repeat where we discuss the present and what you're currently working on. So to start off, what are you sort of currently working on musically?
Musically, what I'm currently working on is my 7th year sobriety album called Did I Go Dumb again. Last year, I put out an EP called "Did I Go Dumb Last Night?" And the concept of the EP, it's a bunch of club banger like style instrumentals. So think of like 2014 DJ Mustard, where him kidding Chris Brown, everyone who was making those kind of club music. That's around the time I was going to college. In college, I had this cycle of drinking where I would wake up drunk, continue partying, do something stupid, go to sleep, wake up drunk, and I would continue, right? So for the 7th year of my sobriety, because I've been sober since 2018, my sobriety date is July 7th, right? So it's the 7th month, the 7th day, and this is the 7th year of my sobriety. What I'm doing is I'm working on a 12-track album, because Alcoholics Anonymous is 12 steps. And it's going to describe in further detail the cycle of drinking. Now, the songs are going to hit like club songs, but it's one of those things where you got to listen to the words that I am saying. And it's like, wait, this is like the saddest thing I've ever heard, right? That is what I'm currently working on right now. And I'm projecting, like I said, July 7th is my anticipated date to drop the album.
I mean, firstly, congratulations on your sort of sobriety. I know that is a hard journey to get through. So
Thank you.
done on that. I personally, because if I ever see anyone say anything like that, I'm always the first to sort of say, well done, keep it going, man.
Thank you.
Secondly, I totally get what you're saying there about putting out music that, everyone will enjoy, but at the same time, there's that hidden meaning, because I'm a big fan of disco, like documentaries. And I love like the sort of '60s era of music, because it was like sort of where like there was like, people were starting to develop hip hop, and it was sort of all, and there was sort of this melting pot of like different things. Now, one song that you were making me think of when you said that, like having like it's a song, but then there's like the meaning behind it, was, I don't know if you ever heard the song called Young Hearts Break Free. I forget by who it's by now. I feel terrible for forgetting the artist's name. But anyway, I watched a documentary recently, and it was about, now you wouldn't know because it's a disco classic, and whenever I play it, people are partying. But it's really weird now when I play it, because I play it and it's like a proper party song. People start dancing. But then since I watched this documentary, it was actually about her abusive partner. Like, he wanted to get a gun and shoot her and kill her. But you let alone, like, so people dance to this every Friday night.
Yeah, I mean, some of our favorite songs like that,
And then no one knows the sort of true meaning behind this song. And I think, my God, you've got a whole different generations love this song, but like there's this such dark hidden meaning behind it all. Like, that if you listen to the lyrics, you can hear it, but like it's crazy. So I totally get where you're coming from there.
Yeah, I mean, think of like The Weeknd, I Can't Feel My Face, right?
Yeah.
Like, that song is, in essence, I can't speak for him, but my interpretation of that song is about his addiction to cocaine, right?
Yeah.
And he says things like, I know you'll be the death of me, at least we'll both be numb, and she'll always get the best of me, the worst is yet to come. Yeah, like, if you just read it, you're like, damn, this is the saddest thing ever. Then you hear the beat and it's like, I want to dance right now. Like, what? So that was my approach with this album.
I love especially that song, because everyone just cannot sing along. Like, they cannot stop themselves sing along. I can't feel my face
When
they
I'm with
sing
you.
along, and they always sing along time. So it's funny that we both like spotted that, man. So what would you say are the biggest sort of challenges with your music at the moment?
My biggest challenges with the music, that's a good question. I appreciate that. My biggest challenges with music is not necessarily with the music itself. I mean, I can't speak on that, but my biggest challenge is my adjustment to the current market, right? When I when I was 14 to 18 years old, right? What it really took, at least from the outside looking in, what it took to make it in the industry was you had to have passion. Yeah, obviously you had to have talent and good music. But also you have to have a story. And I felt like my story of, coming up from my grandparents are immigrants, they came from Mexico into the United States. And coming from like the second generation of me born in America, being a man trapped in another man's body, I felt like it was a very interesting story. and something that a lot of people can relate to. And then, I mean, obviously, you look at the world today where a lot of people feel like, man, I'm a woman trapped in a man's body. I'm a man trapped in a woman's body. And then different variations of that could have ended up being true had I not true. It could have ended up being more relevant and had I taken it more seriously. But I didn't because I was chasing my vices. And so now I'm in this landscape where everybody is a content creator to some degree. So everything gets filtered out, and you have like a millisecond to get someone's attention. And with music, what a lot of people don't understand is that the consumers of music is really just that. Like, you're a DJ, right? So you're very in tune with like the sounds. Would this be good on my set? But most people, they put music on in the background when they clean. They put music on in the car. They put music on when they dance. They're not looking for new songs. Do you see what I'm saying? They're not looking for.
Totally.
So like when I put a reel of me rapping a new song, it's not something where they're saying to themselves, I want to get this new artist. These days, it's like, oh, that's not something that I can laugh at or make fun of, so I'm going to keep scrolling. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that is my biggest struggle, is trying to find different ways to advertise myself when honestly, at my core, I'm not a marketer, right? I am a guy who feels emotions and puts that into music. That's who I am.
I think also, like you say, like, because everyone is a social media sort of, I can't remember what you just said. You said something really good then. I'm trying to remember it. You said that everyone's a social media, and there was another word.
Content creator.
That's it. I can't believe I forgot that.
It's all good. It's all good.
Yeah, everyone's a social media content creator. So, like, obviously, people have high standards of content these days as well. So there's that to contend with. And I feel like, obviously, people that do music, their focus is the music, but then we're sort of taking away some of the bandwidth that you have within the day to sort of like focus on the content, which is a big theme that's come through with everyone I've spoken to, is about how like the content is almost like a second career in itself.
Mm-hmm. The content is a second. I mean, and here's the crazy part: you're competing with. I am a music content creator, and I'm competing with motivational content creators, food content creators, review content creators, marriage content creator, every type of content creator that you can think of. Those are the people that you're quote unquote competing for attention with, right? To find your audience.
Definitely. Just look at my notes quickly. So, what does success currently look like at the moment? Like in the current space, in a day, what does success look like when it comes to your music?
Success looks like growth. And I love that you asked that question, because I have changed this recently. I feel like when a lot of people, myself included, when we look at success, we look at like the private jets, the money, maybe not even private jets, just like a dollar amount. Like, oh, okay, if I make $10 million, I am successful, right? Well, you could go get a loan, not for $10 million, of course, but let's say you hit the lottery and you get $10 million. Then what? Right? You now, if you only had $100 in your pocket, you said, okay, with $100, I can get gas for 50, which is crazy. I can go get food for a week, and then the rest I'll just keep for whatever I need. Okay. The only thing that changes between $100 and $1 million is the amount of stuff you can get. But if you think of the percentage, right? If you spend 70% of your $100 and you don't have a job, okay? If you got $1 million tomorrow, your 70% just went up. You're still spending 70%. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So to me, it's not about getting the $1 million. It's not about financial. It's, do I have more than I had last week? Okay. Even if it's one more monthly listener, do I have more than I have last week? If it's one more subscriber on YouTube, one more follower on Instagram, do I have more than I have last week? If the answer is yes, you have to ask yourself, what did I do to get that? What did I meet someone in person? Did someone find a reel and they followed me that way? Was it an ad that I'm running on a reel? If you are doing that, to me, that is success. Success is not a final destination. It is the continuation of your journey.
I like that answer because I always say on like my videos, spread love, because I feel like that is my job with music, is to spread love through music and help people have a good time through music and connect through music. And one thing that always, like, the way I define success personally is, like, if someone sends me a message and I've listened to either an episode or podcast, or they've seen me DJ and they just send me a message and say, oh, that was a good set, or, you know, I really like this episode you did. I'm the richest man in the world in my mind.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, it doesn't matter, like, any of the money side of things, because that I've affected someone's life for the better. You can't, like, if I can make one person's day just a little bit easier, because it is a crazy world right now. If I can make their day a little bit better by either the DJ set I do, or the episode I put out of the podcast, or whatever it may be within the music space, then I'm so rich. Like,
100%. I mean, success is about achievement, right? Like, if you look at the definition of it, I'm sure the word achievement is in there somewhere, right? So,
yeah.
What is the goal in which you're trying to succeed? To succeed or achieve. If it is financial, it's like, I want to reach $1 million, right? You could be successful in achieving that, but that does not necessarily say that you are successful in whatever journey you're in. Think about it this way. When people say two different statements for business. I run a profitable business and I run a successful business, right? Profitable is we make money. That's simple, right?
Yeah.
Successful is whatever goal we set, we get it, right? Whether it's a metric of however many customers, outreach, whatever the case may be.
Definitely. I think what we're going to do now is move on to the third round, which is discography, where we talk about your music. So 1 second and we'll be back with that. Okay, so this is discography. So to start this off, we're going to talk about your music. So to start that off, let me just pause a second. So what is one of your favorite tracks to, like, either perform or that you've made? When it comes to your music, what are you sort of proud of your music?
Man, there are a lot of songs. I'm going to be honest with you. I have really good slept on music. Like to be honest with you, like when I think of hip hop, I think of something that makes me feel motivated, right? Like whether it's listening to Storytelling by Nas, or I'm listening to Not Like Us by Kendrick Lamar, or I could go on, right?
Yeah.
What I'm getting at is, it doesn't matter what it is going on. Hip hop motivates me to do another set at the gym, or, to get through my day, to get through a drive, to get through something, right? So my music, when I create, it is in essence that. And I have different pockets in which I do that. So to me, it just depends what emotion we're talking about. If we're talking about like a feeling of confidence, my song Validation, which right now I think has like 13,000 plays on YouTube. It's got me over 2,000 subscribers on YouTube. My song Validation is something that gets me very motivated. It's very aggressive, and it is a response song. People call it a diss. I wouldn't call it a diss. It's a response song, and I'm giving somebody advice on there.
I like that you've changed the word diss to response, because I feel like that's such a more positive way to view it, because we were talking before about, the right to have an opinion, and no one's right, but you're allowed to have an opinion. And I like how you said response, because everyone has a right to respond. It doesn't mean always that they're right, but like I say, I like that you said response there. That really sort of not impresses me, but I like the sort of little turn there with that.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Well, because put it this way, man. To me, a diss song yes, it's made to be disrespectful. That's hence the word diss, right? And I do say very disrespectful things on there, but it's not disrespectful because it's an exaggeration. It's only disrespectful because this person in particular is hiding behind lies, living a lie. And so I just go on there and I say the truth, right? Because I actually cared about this person. I still care about this person. And I said, you know what? I've had enough. A lot of people feel this way. I'm going to be the one to say it. I don't, it's definitely not, it's not intended to tear this person down. It's intended to say, wake up. Have you ever had to give somebody like a rude awakening? That's what it is, honestly.
Yeah, yeah. It's always a bit of an awkward situation that when you have to sort of like, because like you feel like, well, at the same time, I'm actually helping you out, but it's going to be viewed as like I hate you.
Yeah, well, of course. Look at what this guy said. This is funny. It can
Yeah,
be the meanest thing in the world. People will DM me mean shit all the time. And I'm like, this is hilarious. I just troll them back. I don't know them. They don't know me. So it's not personal, right? This person knows me.
yeah,
And he chose to continue to lie about me and belittle my profession, knowing how much it means to me. So I said, okay, let me respond because I bit my tongue for this long. Let's respond.
yeah. I mean, it's it's hard, isn't it? Like because I mean, I've never been in that situation. Me, I'm sort of never been in that situation. If anyone
I'm
sends me
glad you
anything,
haven't.
I think thinking about this, for example, because if you're taking time out of your life, you must not have anything going on.
Beyond that, beyond because there are people who do have stuff going on who will they'll talk shit. You're just not happy with what you have going on.
Yeah,
That's to me that's what it is.
yeah, definitely, definitely. So yeah, so
I know we sidetracked there. You had asked me like, what's a song? I said validate. My song Validation is something I put on that really gets me like motivated these days.
okay, so tell me about. I was looking on your Spotify, and tell me about the album Birthday Boy Volume 30, because I think Validation's on that album. So
Yeah,
tell us about that, how that came about.
yeah. So when I was rediscovering my musical self, it was 2028. Oh, not 2028. While we were not there, I was turning 28.
Yeah,
And it was 2022, and I had built a studio in my apartment that I was renting with my fiance at the time, my wife now. And I said, man, like this is the first studio I've ever had. I want to start taking the music a little more seriously. And that's when I was like discovering the concept of like the narcissism thing and yada yada. And I said, you know what? I'm gonna put out a EP every time I turn a new age. So Birthday Boy Volume 28 was the first one. And it was just two new songs. Last year, 29, it was four new songs. 30 is such a pivotal age in general for everybody, no matter what you go through.
yeah, definitely.
So I said, I don't want to just put out a couple of songs, right? I want to put out like a whole album. But with me, when I approach albums, man, like I have to every single time I have to have like something that anchors down my writing. If not, I'm going to go all over the place. And there's nothing wrong with that per se, but I won't get anything done. So I was like, what theme am I going for in 30 or Birthday Boy Volume 30? But every time I get too deep into the thought of like what I want the music and lyrics to be about, I actually don't do a great job. I have to think about, okay, as a human being, as a person, if I was watching a movie, reading a book, or listening to an album, what message am I trying to get from this piece of art? And for Birthday Boy Volume 30, a lot of stuff was going on. I got married last year. I lost, not like death, but like I lost family members last year because of things that they have said. They've cut themselves out of my life for saying terrible, horrible things. We had this gentleman talking crap. I had very close friends also cutting me out of their life for me, again, giving my opinion. And I'm not to say that these people are wrong in how they feel. I'm just saying like I'm going through a lot of loss.
Yeah,
And it reminded me a lot of, there was a lot of hatred in my heart. A lot of hatred in my heart from like concepts I had in my 20s. And I want all those gone. I want it gone.
yeah,
And when I make a song about something, I do let it go. I was like, man, like I don't feel that emotion anymore. So for Birthday Boy Volume 30, I wanted to approach the album with, hey, I'm going to release all of the hatred in my heart. And that's why track 10 is Rid My Heart. And the next track is Back Doing Me. It's more so like, this is who I am going forward. Like, I don't hate anybody. I don't have any hate in my heart for any situation, period. You know, all the people I just mentioned, whether they cut me out or I cut them out, like I don't hate them. It's just more so we have a disagreement on something and we need some time to work it out. And obviously, if we speak right now, it's not going to be productive. But anyway, to answer your question, Birthday Boy Volume 30 is about addressing the hatred in my heart from my 20s and letting go of that person. And if you watch any visuals that I put out for it, like my song For Me, Validation, No Rescue, Good Times Die, Rid My Heart, you'll see that I'm talking to myself in most of these things, because if in life, something I can say to you, Rich, if I say, Rich, you know what? I'm not a big fan of your red jacket, right? Or maybe not that. I say, Rich, you should clean your room.
Yeah.
I only know to say that because of my own point of reference of someone telling me to clean my room. Do you see what I'm saying? So if I'm calling someone out on the project or saying like, you did this to me, it's probably because at one point I did that to either you or somebody else.
Yeah.
So it's an album where I feel like a lot of us can learn, even myself, we can learn about what it takes, what it means to take accountability and how it can better our life.
Definitely, and I like that you've used music as a positive outlet for like emotions that obviously are sort of tricky to sort of deal with at times. I like that you've taken this negative energy and you've put it into something positive, which I mean, you probably can tell by the conversation. Where I'm like a happy-go-lucky sort of person. I mean, I could be skipping. I mean, it's like rainbows and unicorns over here for me.
That's
I'm
awesome.
probably too positive. I always see the sort of glass half full, not half empty. Sometimes I have to remember that, like, you know, to be too positive. That I feel like that's like a shortcoming of me. I can be too positive, and sometimes that can like rub the people the wrong way. But I do like that you've sort of taken all this, angst and this sort of heartbreak, and you put it into an outlet that's positive. Because
Thank you.
I feel like like if you think about people, it would be so easy to take those emotions, take it out on someone, get into a situation, spiral out of control from all that. But you've deliberately chosen to take it and put it into music, where then someone else could probably potentially listen to that and sort of, do you know what? I've actually felt that myself.
Yeah.
And then before you know it, you help someone else. But this is just me being positive again. Like I say, I think this is why I love music so much, because, for example, this podcast, I speak to people from all over the place, but it always comes back to the music and how music
It connects us all.
Is the common denominator, and it's the biggest thing that, no matter what's going on, you can use music in a way that can help you that nothing else I don't feel can help people the way that music does.
I 100% agree with that.
Just quickly, I want to mention that I've wrote down some tracks I liked of yours were Back Doing Me, Validation, Nitty Gritty, You'll Always Have My Heart, For Me, Good Times Die. There was one, I put some notes here as well. Validation, there was a lyric in it, something like Obi-Wan, but I can't remember, I don't want to butcher it, but something like Obi-Wan Kenobi or something like that. I like that section of the
In Validation, there isn't an Obi-Wan Kenobi bar. I do have a song where I say Obi-Wan. Man, I forget which song though, but it's not in Validation.
No, I've put that note there. I probably just got confused with where I put my notes. So
it's okay.
I do. Yeah, I like. I mean, when I found your music, I did like sort of like your sort of style of hip hop, and it did remind me of sort of like, as you were talking, like the older style of hip hop. It's probably why I probably connected with it when I listened to it. Like, I don't know, like the sort of modern stuff's a bit more, how to describe it, but like I said, I did like the style of like hip hop that you do. Maybe you could talk about that a bit.
Yeah, first before I say anything, because I want this to be stated for everybody.
Yeah, no worries.
What I find beautiful about music, period, there is everyone's voice, your voice, my sister's voice, my grandma's voice, your family members' voices, right? Everyone has a musical style about them. It just
Yeah,
might not be like something that everyone can listen to. Like your audience could be just for maybe 10 people and someone else's is 10,000 and someone else's is 10 million. You know what I'm saying? So before I go into what I'm about to say, that's important because what I'm about to say might come across as a dig to modern hip hop, and it's not.
mm.
To me, I grew up in an era where you had an artist who would like interview, like they would make their music and then they would get interviewed like we're interviewing right now, and it would give more depth to their thought process and who they are as a person, right? And then you see that same artist get like movie roles and things of that. So
Yeah,
they're in almost every asset of our life. You know, they come out with a book or something. It's like, man, like this person, I really connect with like what they're saying, and almost every role they get lines up with their message, you know.
yeah,
And then you get these one-offs where they might end up on like Saturday Night Live and like they're just telling jokes. It's like, man, like this person is a good role model, at least portrays to be a good role model. You see what I'm saying? So that's substance, right? Where it's not just about does this sound good, it's like does it mean something? What is it
yeah,
saying to me? And that's what I connected with, especially with music, period, before I discovered hip hop. You know, like I said, the first musical experience I had was In Sync. That's not like a deep song. And then I discovered Linkin Park. Again, it's not hip hop, but Mike Shinoda does rap on there from time to time.
yeah,
But it was those lyrics that were like very powerful. Then when my dad played Pac and my mom played Pac, and then my dad played 50, Snoop, Lil Wayne, like I was like, wait. So you're telling me that I could say what I feel in a very powerful way, but it doesn't have to be over like Lincoln, like rock songs. It could be over hip hop music because hip hop was talking about pain and struggle as well. So to me, man, like you said, like going back to my musical approach, that will always take precedence for me is, am I saying something worthwhile on this song? You know, am I? I'm not talking about anyone else on the song. Anyone else can do whatever they want. Am I saying something that is meaningful to me and my life? Would my younger self look at this and say, man, like this applies to what I'm going through right now? That's what I do. And that's not to say that modern hip hop doesn't have its own place, because of course it
mm.
does. If it didn't, then it wouldn't be as popular as a genre it
Yeah,
is. I'm just not, it's not authentic if I were to go in the booth and try to make music like that. You see what I'm saying?
yeah, totally, 100%. Like I say, I really appreciate you saying that. I think what we're going to do now is move to the last round because of time. So we'll go on to that. So the last round is Dream Big. So 1 second and we'll be back. Okay, so this is Dream Big, where we talk about the future of this week's guests, artist. So to start it off, what is your biggest ambition for your music?
My biggest ambition for my music is to be heard worldwide. I feel like that's what most artists, you know, as big of an audience as possible. But I want to impact as many lives as I possibly can, man. One thing that breaks my heart is we have a lot of public figures. I won't name names, but we have a lot of public figures who were very prominent in music or entertainment that we find out were monsters.
Yeah,
Right now, whether the stories are true or not, that's not what I'm here to talk about. They're true enough to where they weren't the image that you were portraying.
yeah,
And I go on here and I talk about how imperfect I am, and I talk
mm,
about the things that I've done. I've talked about me being an alcoholic. I talk about my suicidal thoughts. I talk about my family issues, divorce, my imperfections, me being short, me being fat, all this stuff. Like, so I don't want to be a role model in the sense of like, I think I'm so great. I want to be a role model for people who think they have to be great in order to
yeah,
have a happy life. You know, I think that when we idolize people, especially in modern day, you probably see it with fan bases. We idolize people that we don't know who end up like really, at least on outwardly, what they portray to the public, they really only care about themselves. And to a degree, I understand that because you have to only care about yourself in order to survive. But at the end of the day, if someone is saying they're a fan of me, if someone is saying I connect with your music and like they come out to your show, they're waiting in line, they're spending their hard-earned money waiting to see you. To me, I owe my servant leadership. I owe my life to these people, and I want to do anything I can to help people going through something, a tough time, anything I possibly can. And I just want to summarize. I want my music to show people you don't have to be perfect in order to have a happy life.
Definitely, definitely. And I think it's right what you're saying there. You know, the false image, some people that have recently come out, we found out it wasn't really them. I feel like you have such a responsibility when you have like a fan base because they're spending the money on you, but more importantly, they're spending a lot of time with you. And to find out that like you weren't the person that you thought they were is it's quite upsetting, really, isn't it? Because you think you've spent like the one thing you can never get back in life is time.
100%.
And if you've spent all that time, you know, enjoying their music, and you know, and then you find all this out, you think you feel like you've been cheated essentially.
Yeah. Well, and not just that, man. It's like we're in our 30s. So if we find out someone was lying about who they were, it's I won't say it's entertainment because some of it's dark, but it's more so like, oh, that sucks. But think about when we were 14 years old, looking up to any artist. I'm like, man, I want to be like as confident as this person. Then you find out that what they were doing in order to stay confident was monstrous behavior, terrible behavior. It's like, damn, like I idolized that person as a kid. That just imagine someone builds their whole foundation on that, and they find out that that was a lie. Like that can crush somebody. You never know.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it could really affect someone's mental health.
Yep.
You know, crazy. So, do you have any sort of dream artist to collaborate with?
I have so many dream artists to collaborate
I mean, it's
with.
a hard question, this. I mean, I feel like depending on what you've listened to that week as well, or that day, or what you've seen on TV, or whatever it might be, it changes. I know it does with me. Like, if I'm really like feeling the vibe of an artist, I'm like, oh my God, it'd be so good to do this music with that artist, and we'd make this album. And, you know, you start thinking in your head. But like I say, are there any sort of standouts when I say that? Like, you think, God.
You know what's so this is my thing about collaborations is I feel like I have my dream artist that I would like to work with, but I don't want it to just be like a song in terms of like I just paid for a feature and like you gave me a feature. When I think collaboration, I think of like a whole creative effort. Like we're going to go in there and like pick apart this song until it's exactly what we want it to be, until it's exactly what we envision it, and now we're planning visuals for it, things of that nature. You know what I'm saying? We're really working together in that aspect. And honestly, I feel like a couple names that come to mind, like Lil Wayne, The Weeknd, Kendrick Lamar, Snoop Dogg.
I'm liking this list already.
Yeah, of course. I'm thinking of like people where I would get in the booth, like I could see myself in the booth with these people, and like we're like talking about, nah, like you could say that better, or like, oh, you know what, like what if we said this instead of that? You know what I mean? I can picture them giving me pointers, and then like if I was bold enough to be like, hey, yo, Snoop, like, honestly, I think you should say this instead of that. You know what I'm saying? Like, I can picture myself actually having those conversations with people, you know? So those are just some to name, but like, there are so many artists that I wish I could have collaborated with that like either passed away or don't make music anymore. Or not don't make music anymore, but they like retired for whatever reason, you know?
I mean, I know what you mean. Like, when you said Snoop Dogg there, I was thinking of I don't know if you've seen the clip where he gets up and he goes, "I would just like to thank myself for being incredible." I think, you know, like, but there's a good lesson in that, isn't there? Because I do feel like people aren't kind to themselves at time when they're, going through the journey of music, and they're like, you're so like sort of wrapped up in like the current things you're doing, and you think, hang on, a year ago, I wasn't doing this, and
Yeah.
look where I am today. I've taken myself from that place to this place. So, there is an actual lesson in what he's saying there. But no, I love those collaborations there. Definitely, like, they sound like sort of like the statesmen of hip hop, the ones you were saying there.
Well, I mean, to me, again, it's more so, yeah, the statesman of hip hop is one thing, but it's also people whose work I admire and I respect. I mean, there are a lot of songs out there that I listen to and I like a lot, but like, again, when I think about collaboration, I'm not just thinking about I send you a verse or you send me a verse and that's the end of that. That's cool. There's nothing wrong with that. I'm saying that my dream collaboration is like a whole studio session and like making a music video, like a whole piece of art, a conceptual thing. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah. I feel like when you say collaboration, it's more of like a partnership than like one single thing. Definitely. So, is there any so in terms of live performances? I've probably not actually spoken with you about this. So, in terms of live performances, is there like a dream venue or a dream festival or concert that you thought, to perform my music there, that would be like the icing on the cake? Like for me as a DJ, Ibiza and Ministry of Sound in London are like the top. I mean, probably the top is Ministry of Sound because
Right.
as a kid I idolized it. I still idolize it now. But like I say, so is there anything like you would think performing here? That is like one of my top go-to things.
Well, I appreciate that question a lot, man. For me, SAP Center, San Jose, California. It's home, right? It's an arena. And if I were to perform at that venue or in that space, right, in front of my city, like that to me would say like, man, we're here. You know, there are a lot of beautiful venues out there that I can name. There are a lot of like beautiful festivals that I can name where it's like, man, being a part of this would be great. Being a part of that would be great. And it would be great. But I've always been big on, I don't want to just perform in terms of like, I go up there, I rap, I leave. Right. That's nice. That's fun. But I want this performance to mean something to at least someone in the crowd.
Yeah.
And for my city, right, of San Jose, like it's the Bay Area and it kind of gets looped into the Bay Area, which is fine. But I want to be able to look my city in the face and say, like, you did this, you deserve this, right? Like we're here together in this moment. And this isn't about me. Like, yes, it's my show, or maybe maybe it's not even my show. It's someone else's show. Yes, I am the one performing, but I want you guys to look around and say, you guys earned enough money to be here. You guys all got safely to this venue. You guys worked your ass off to get where you are in life today. And you deserve. I want to say that to every crowd, but to be able to say that to my city is something that I really, really look forward to.
I mean, I really appreciate that because I feel like your hometown is a big, like it's a big thing, isn't it? Like
Yeah.
because that's the place where you've grown up, you've been through all the struggles, you've been through the successes, and and I feel like if you get to that point, it's like right, the next chapter is going to be like the next level, and
Exactly.
it's great. So I know I asked before what success currently looks like, but I'm going to ask you here, what does success look like in the future? So let's say 10, 20 years time, what would success be?
I'm going to continue to say success is growth. Like I think I can tell you that in 10 years I want X amount of kids, X amount of followers, X amount of this, X amount of that. But the truth of the matter is, and I hope anyone who's an artist listens to this, or not even artist, entrepreneur. The truth of the matter is, the world is not going to stop growing and evolving. Technology is going to get crazier, right? So the second you master the VR world, they're going to be holograms before you know it, right? The second you think you know AI, there's going to be robots doing it before you know it, right? So you can try to master any of these things. You could try to be the best at any of these things, and you might reach it. But guess what? In 10 years, things will have evolved, and you could say that sentence 10 years from now. So what I will continue to say is success is about growth. Do I know more than I know last week? Have I accomplished more than I accomplished last week? Take it one step at a time. But I will list some materialistic things for you. I do want kids. I do want a family. So success to me is about having a healthy family. Success to me is about my wife being successful, because it's one thing if I say, okay, August Wld, August Wld, August Wld, but if my wife Stephanie, if she doesn't reap the benefits of this stuff and put it into her own business and her own life, then to me I failed. So if the people around me aren't successful, then I'm not successful in my opinion. And then finally, I hope to at least have a charity or something that I could, like some kind of program that I can help people with mental health issues.
Yeah,
Because I know that it is very hard to deal with mental health. I have family members who have severe mental health issues, and I think it's mainly because of like affordability, like people can't afford care, or maybe they're just not aware of it. So I want to make something where, or hopefully in the next 10 years, I have at least a foundation for a program that I can give back to the community and help people live healthier lives.
definitely. I like that. I like that answer about sort of the mental health sort of support you want to sort of give, because I feel like this is another thing music can really help with. Like in Preston, where I live in Lancashire, there's a guy called Jason, and he runs with a lady called Emma this DJ social events, and like local DJs can come to it. It's all for mental health, so you can all meet up, have a go on the decks. Even if you don't do music, you could come along and just watch, or maybe learn to DJ and get in. And it's all about community, and it's not about like anyone being better than anyone else. It's about being a team, supporting each other, having that someone to talk to. So definitely we need more things that help people with mental health, and just generally I think sometimes, like, I always think about like old people, for example, because like I have a retail job, and if any old people come in, I always make a point to go and speak to them,
Right,
because you don't know if they haven't, maybe they live alone, maybe they don't
right.
speak to anyone, they've got nobody. And like I was reading the other day that loneliness is like getting younger and younger for people. So like being lonely is like young people are lonely now apparently, which is crazy. You'd think they have all the social, but like, so I always make the point of like speaking to people if I sense something's wrong, or maybe I always make a point of trying to just be at least one person spoke to them. Do you know what I mean? So I really resonated there when you said about like mental health and just like supporting people and sort of giving back a little bit.
Yeah, we live in such a divided world, and I don't, even if in my music, I like validation, for example, even if in my music I'm tearing another human being down, right? Like I said, and for anybody listening to August Wild music, I will feel very passionately about something in a song. I am totally happy to walk something back in real life if you change my mind, and if you prevent um, a good opinion or something that says, you know what, like I should have thought about that differently. I'm not the end all be all. My music is not the end all be all. I want to create an environment, a world where we can get along to the best of our ability, or like you said at the beginning of this, Rich, we just go back to agreeing to disagree, and there's no
Yeah,
violence, there's no hate about it. We only have one life, man. We only have one life.
definitely. I mean, you saying like changing opinions. Like I was talking on my Instagram the other day about how like in Britain we love to complain about public transport.
Okay.
It's a very British thing to complain about. Oh, the bus is late, the train's late, whatever it may be. And I was saying, like, trying to, how can I think about this differently? And I was saying that, like, hang on a minute. So we complain about the bus, right? I'm guilty of it myself. Okay, so we're lucky enough to live in a country where we have a bus. It might be late, same with the train, but we have a bus to actually be late for. So we're
Yeah.
lucky enough to live in a country that has a train that is late and a bus that is late, but we're lucky enough to have the ability to complain about that. That's a privilege already.
Mm-hmm. It is.
So, like you were saying there about trying to think about things differently, that is something I've this week been really thinking about. Like, well, I'm lucky enough to live in a country where okay, it isn't on time all the time, but it still comes eventually. But I'm lucky enough to have the privilege to complain about that.
Right.
And it's really interesting when you start to think about things like this. Then you can't really stop.
No, you can't. It's addicting.
I'm trying to think of what else in my life do I think, oh, this is an issue. And then I thought, hang on a minute, no, I'm lucky enough to have that. Do you know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
I mean, I think what we're talking about here is just like being like sort of appreciative of what you have, basically.
100%. 100%, man.
So I think basically we've come to the end of the interview there. I want to just say a big thank you to you to coming on the podcast and speaking with me. I've really enjoyed this episode.
Thank you for having me.
No, definitely. Like I say, I really wish you the best for your music in the future. Any updates, send it over and we'll put it on the social media for the podcast. And I like to keep people updated because I always feel like once you've been on the podcast, it's not the end. Like, just send us stuff and I'll put it to this audience. So it's over this side of the world. So yeah, definitely. I want to just thank you, and I really appreciate you giving us the time today.
Likewise, I appreciate that you have the platform for artists like myself to come here to share our story. I appreciate that you listed songs that you listen to. I would encourage you to keep going because we need more platforms where we give upcoming artists, a chance to be heard. So thank you for that.
Well, definitely. Like I said, I feel like my job as a DJ, and I remember when I was a kid, DJs did it more. They still do it now, but I think it's getting lesser and lesser. Like, they really sort of like were the sort of like go-between between the audience and the artist. And I'm trying to focus on that, really, is trying to mean like, let's listen to this, let's listen to that, and find new artists that, we wouldn't find. I don't know if you're still there. 1 second. Yeah,
I'm sorry.
My phone playing. Yeah, so find new artists that wouldn't be found maybe. So, for example, you live in America. Like, obviously, I found you over here through social media, but then it's helping you sort of like get a bigger reach over here. Do you know what I mean? So definitely, I always like to put artists and music lovers first. That's my preference. But anyway, I'm going to wrap up there. I really appreciate it. Have a nice evening, and we'll speak soon.
All right. Thank you.
In the mix with DJ Rambo Rich.